Hello, my name is Marion Nicke. I'm a case manager at Berlin Partner and I work within the Business Immigration Service of Berlin. I would like to speak to you about things you should know when hiring foreign talents. Now, if this would work, this would be very helpful. Okay, here we go. To start with, you should know which players are involved in the procedure. If your talent comes from abroad, they will, in most cases, have to go through the local German embassy or consulate. In most cases, the German Labor Office will be involved, the Bundesagentur für Arbeit. Once your talent is in Germany, or talents who are in Germany generally already, they will have to apply for a residence permit with the immigration office in Berlin. That would be the Landesamt für Einwanderung, the LEA. And for companies, and only advisory before application, Berlin Partner can assist you, for example, my person. Any person with a foreign nationality who is from outside the EU or the European Economic Area and who intends to stay in Germany for longer than 90 days needs to apply for a residence permit. No such thing is required if you are a citizen from the EU, or for your family members. If this is the case, you can enter Germany without a visa and stay here for 90 days. And you have free access to the German labor market. The same applies to EEA nationals and to Swiss nationals. There are a few countries that are so-called privileged countries. We call them the 8 Friends. As you can see, the United States and Canada, Australia and New Zealand, Korea, Israel, Japan, and the United Kingdom. People from those countries can come to Germany without a visa, and within 90 days, that's the allowed stay without a visa, they can apply for a residence permit directly in Berlin or the city they're coming to. What they should keep in mind is that they may only start working or being self-employed here once they have obtained a residence permit for this purpose. The first check is if you want to apply for a residence permit or if you want to hire a talent from abroad, there are a few questions that determine where the application must be filed, either with the German embassy or the local immigration office, which authorities must be involved, and the type of residence permit which is best for this person. Questions are, if the person is still abroad, what nationality does it have? Where is the current place of residence? What is the qualification, and is the qualification good for the certain position? And what is the salary for the position? And if it's not about employment, does the person maybe have the chance to apply for a family reunion, or do they need a freelance or a self-employment permit? Every residence permit is based on a certain purpose. And for gainful activity, there are 3 purposes. The first one is employment. The second one is freelance employment. And the third one is self-employment. And each of those residence permits allows you to do exactly that, either employment, freelance employment, or self-employment. And one of them, the residence permit for the purpose of employment, or the blue card, which is also a residence permit for employment, this one allows you to be self-employed on the side, which means you can do something in the evenings or on the weekends or whenever you have the free time. If you have a residence permit as a freelancer or as a self-employed person, you may not be employed. And you should also know that if the purpose ends, for example, if you quit your job or you stop being a freelancer, you are obliged to inform the Landesamt for Einwanderung, or the local immigration office. Here you can see the objects of desire. On top left, you see a visa, and you can tell it's a national visa because it says Visum. And it says in the red circle, you can see the D for Deutschland. If this was a tourist visa, it would say Schengen Visum. So that's the big difference. Schengen Visum is always a tourist visa, and if it says Visum, it's a national visa. Below the visa, you can see so-called Aufenthaltstitel, which is a residence permit. We call it the EAT, which is an electronic Aufenthaltstitel. That's the plastic card you will normally get once you applied for the residence permit. Then next to it, on the right, you see the green leaflet, which comes with a residence permit. In the red circle, you see the remarks that may stipulate what you can do if you're authorized to take up employment or freelancing or whatever. It's very important to read these remarks because they tell you what is allowed and what is not allowed. On the very right-hand side, you see another Aufenthaltstitel. This one is a sticker that is being placed into the passport. It happens only in rare cases. Most of the time, people receive the plastic ID card as a residence permit. So if you're an employer and you want to hire somebody who stays abroad, there are a few things you should check before you start the whole process. First of all, you would check whether the person has a German, EU, or EEA nationality, or if they are married to a person of one of those nationalities, because in such case, they wouldn't need a residence permit. Any other person will need a residence permit. And the next thing you would check is, do they have a university degree? The degree is actually the easiest type of qualification for a residence permit because it's very easy to check whether it's recognized in Germany. If you have somebody with a formal professional education, that would also have to be checked through one of the authorities. For example, in the construction business, that would be the Chamber of Crafts, or if it was a health education, that would be the LAGESO, the Landesamt for Gesundheit und Soziales. But if it's a university degree, that's very easy to check. And if you know, or if you see that the person you want to hire has got a degree that matches the position, that's actually the best case that can happen. And in this case, you would apply for pre-approval with the local labor office. The labor office will check whether the person is qualified for the position and whether the education, in this case, the university degree, is recognized and whether the salary is adequate for such a position. And they will also check the working time. For example, if the person is obliged to do overtime, or whether they're working full-time or part-time, and all of these details of the work contract. Once you receive the pre-approval from the Bundesagentur für Arbeit, you would send it to the candidate abroad, and they would take it to their to the package of documents that they have to take to the German embassy. While you were still applying for pre-approval, the candidate would check the German embassy's website and see if they can book an appointment, and also check the the checklists there so that they have all the documents required with them. And they need to take the original documents to the German embassy, hand them over, and the German embassy will check everything, and afterwards they will get another appointment and then hopefully receive the visa. This national visa is usually valid for 6 months, in some cases only for 3 months, and it allows the talent to enter Germany and start working immediately. Approximately 8 weeks before the visa expires, they should file an application on site in Germany for the conversion of the visa into a residence permit. At the moment, many embassies request a statement from the employer where they prove that it's urgent, that the person travels to Germany right now. So this would include why the position is so necessary for your company, the work cannot be done remotely, and it should also include possible disadvantages for the company if the person cannot be hired here at the moment. This declaration should be submitted with the visa documents. So when the person goes to the German embassy, they should also have this letter because it helps to get a national visa. Actually, because of the pandemic at the moment, we also recommend that people from the 8 friends countries apply for a national visa first, because this way they're sure that they can enter Germany and they don't or they won't have problems at the border when they come to Germany, and they don't have to explain things to the border police. The ANABIN database is the official database to check whether foreign university degrees are recognized in Germany. You would first check for the university and see whether it has an H+. H+ means it's a recognized university. In rare cases, you'll find an H-, which means this university is not recognized, or sometimes it's an H+/-, which could mean that here some study courses are recognized while others are not. In this case, you will find additional information on that side, and you should read it carefully to see whether the degree is recognized or not. If you found the university and it's got an H+, then you should also check for the study course. And if you find ratings like vergleichbar, entspricht, that's beautiful, or sometimes it says only something like A3, A4, A5, that's also fine. The only rating you don't want to see is actually A2, because that means the study course was only for 2 years, and this is not enough. This is not comparable to a German degree. It should be a minimum of 3 years. If you found everything, you should create a PDF, and those PDFs should go with the application for the visa already. So that's also another document that's within the document package for the German embassy. If the degree is not listed, that's a little bit difficult, then you can contact us and we can speak about it. In some cases, it makes sense to apply for a statement of comparability from the KMK. The KMK is the authority behind the ANABIN database. But I would recommend, in such a case, contact us, speak to us, and then we can see whether it makes sense or whether there is another solution for you. Just 2 cases that sometimes are interesting as well. It could be that you want to hire somebody for an internship, a person who studies abroad and wants to do an internship in Germany, that is possible if it's a compulsory internship that is within the study framework. In such a case, and if the internship is supposed to last longer than 90 days, you will have to apply for a special student's pre-approval with the local labor office in Germany. You see the link here. If the internship is not a compulsory one, but a voluntary internship, it's a bit more difficult because voluntary internships are regarded as regular employment. If you think the internship is not part of the study course but relevant for the person, then you can write everything down and still apply with the Arbeitsagentur for a special pre-approval. If they think this is an adequate internship, they will give you the approval, and then the person can apply for a visa for an internship. Another case, sometimes talents sit in countries where they have very long waiting periods for visa appointments. For example, the Iran or some of the Balkan states. If the waiting periods for an appointment are, let's say, 4 months, 5, 6, or even more, then it might be a good idea to use the so-called accelerated procedure or beschleunigtes Fachkräfteverfahren, because here you can basically do the process that is normally being done at the German embassy abroad. You transfer the process to Berlin, and everything will be checked with the immigration office in Berlin, which is very convenient because you are the ones who, I mean, the HR person, you are the ones who have the whole process in their hand, and they can communicate directly to the immigration office. If there are any problems, the communication is much easier than if the person sits in the country abroad and they have to communicate to the German embassy. That's always a bit more complicated. This special service obviously comes with a fee. The fee per talent is 411 euros. What you should keep in mind is that the immigration office will issue a pre-approval with a seal, which is a sheet of paper, and you have to send this pre-approval to the person abroad, and they have to take it to the German embassy. Then the embassy should allocate an appointment within 3 weeks, and then within another 3 weeks they should check all the documents and issue the visa. Those visas are usually issued for 12 months, which is very nice because there's more time for the talent in Germany than before they must convert the visa into the residence permit. Two important notes. First of all, only the German embassy checks the authenticity of the documents, which means if, for example, the university degree was counterfeit, then the LEA wouldn't see it because they work only with digital documents. But the embassy would find that, and if there was a problem also, it could still be that the embassy denies a visa. But if everything is okay, then obviously the visa will be issued. Another important thing is you can only start the visa process at one authority. So if you want to do the beschleunigte Fachkräfteverfahren in Berlin, then it's important that the talent hasn't started the process already with the German embassy abroad. We come to talents in Germany. The first thing you would check if you want to hire a talent in Germany is the residence permit and the addendum. You check whether the permit is still valid and whether it allows the person to start working with you immediately. Generally, employment is possible if the talent has worked in Germany subject to social insurance contributions for more than 24 months. If that's the case, then you can hire the person immediately and they may start working with you. If they haven't fulfilled those 24 months yet, they must, in most cases, apply for a change of employer. This application must be sent to the LEA, and the person may only start working with you once they have the new approval from the LEA. If the person you want to hire has got another residence permit, for example, for studying or for job search or freelance employment, then they will have to apply for a residence permit for employment. And they must first have the approval by the LEA, which means they must first have the new residence permit, which allows employment. Here you can see the most common addendum remarks. So if you open this green leaflet and you see there Beschäftigung or Erwerbstätigkeit erlaubt, that's the best case because the person may start right away. Everything is allowed. If it says something like Beschäftigung erlaubt als, for example, software developer with company XYZ, then generally they would have to apply for a change of employer unless they have already worked in Germany for 24 months. In that case, you would only have to inform the LEA. If it says Beschäftigung erlaubt als software developer or Beschäftigung erlaubt gemäß paragraph 18b, number 2, Aufenthaltsgesetz, that's probably the addendum for a so-called large blue card, and it means that the person can be hired as a software developer if it says software developer there, and or if the salary exceeds 56,800 euros, because that's the threshold for the large blue card, and in such cases the labor office must not be involved. So if you hire the person with the same job title there and with a remuneration of 56,800, then you can hire them right away. If the person is a student and their residence permit says Beschäftigung für 120 volle or 240 halbe Tage, that means that they still have a residence permit for studying. Employment is possible to the extent of 120 full days or 240 half days. That means they can be hired as working students, and the half days are anything up to 4 hours. Everything more than 4 hours would be a full day. If you want to hire those persons full time, then they would have to apply for a new residence permit, which allows this. Now let's say the student studied in Germany and they already finished, but they still have the purpose, the residence permit for the purpose of studying. Then there are two options. One option is they have a specific offer from your company. In such a case, they can apply for a residence permit for employment or for an EU blue card if the prerequisites are met. The other option would be they apply for a so-called Jobseeker Permit for graduates looking for employment. This permit is a good solution for persons who don't know whether they're going to work in a certain position for a longer time. If, for example, they want to try out a job and see whether it works, and if it doesn't, then they want to check something else, or they think about maybe opening up a startup, their own business. For them, it's a good option to apply for this Jobseeker Permit because it's valid for 18 months, and within this period, they can do anything. They can accept any type of employment. They can start to build up their own company. They can even do freelancing with that. For 18 months, they can try everything and find their way before they accept maybe a new position or before they start their own business. In both cases, you need a certificate from the university that says that the studies have been completed successfully. Here you can see the prerequisites for the EU Blue Card, obviously an employment contract, and a recognized university degree, which is relevant for the position. And then the so-called large Blue Card has a minimum salary threshold of 56,800 euros per year. And then there's a special threshold for STEM positions. We call that the small Blue Card, and the threshold is 44,304 euros. The link takes you to the LEA website, which explains everything further. Generally, the Blue Card is a very sought after residence permit. It's for the higher qualified. It's issued up to 4 years, whereas the regular residence permit is usually issued for 3 years, or if the employment contract is only for a certain period, like 1 or 2 years, and then obviously the residence permit would also be for 1 or 2 years. But if the employment is unlimited, then it's issued for 3 years. And another advantage of the Blue Card is that you can apply for permanent residence much earlier. Here you can see that the different degrees, the salary thresholds, and you can see that with the Blue Card, you may apply for permanent residence after 33 months if you have A1 German knowledge, or even after 21 months if you have a B1 certificate in German. Another skilled employed would have to wait 4 years before they can apply for permanent residence in Germany. There is a special paragraph for IT specialists who do not have a university degree or who have a university degree in another field. So if they're offered employment with a salary of at least 4,260 euros, and they have a minimum of 3 years of relevant work experience, then they can apply for a residence permit, not a Blue Card, but a regular residence permit for employment. Relevant work experience means that it has been in the field of IT, and it has been in a regular position, not internships, for example, but in regular IT positions. As per the law, those people should have knowledge of German to the grade of B1, but if the company confirms in writing that the working language in the company is English, then B1 knowledge is not required. What you should know about the termination of employment: when it comes to the end of a contract, both parties are obliged to inform the immigration office. That means the employer must inform the LEA. They can do that via email, and they can write to the BIS and say, our employee with the name and birth date and nationality stops working for us on this and this date. And also the employee should inform the LEA and they should do that via the country departments, the so-called Länderreferate, and inform the layer that they stopped working in this position with this company, and then either they have a new job and they start in the new position, or if they don't have anything, they will be given 6 months for the job search. And they should report back to the layer and let them know whether they have a new position or whether they would like to do something else, maybe apply for a residence permit for freelancing or so. But it's important to report back to the layer, otherwise they will contact you and ask what's going on with you. If we don't speak about employees, but freelancers, here's an overview what you can do if you want to apply for a freelance permit. Generally, a person who delivers services to more than one client is considered a freelance. Whenever you apply for such a permit, you should know that the immigration office must send the application to the Senate Department for Economics, and they must look at your papers, evaluate them, and then say, okay, this looks good, seems to be a fruitful business, or say, we have a problem here. And depending on their response, the layer will be able to issue the permit for your freelance activity or not. You can find everything in the link down here. If you establish your own company, your own startup here, and you're a major shareholder, then you can apply for a residence permit for self-employment. Basically, the same happens here, only the immigration office will send your file to the Chamber of Commerce and Industry and ask them to check whether it's going to be a fruitful business or if they have any problems with that. In case that Berlin Partner supports your project, then Berlin Partner would write the statement of economic interest for you. Here you find the link to the layer website and links with startup information from the Chamber of Commerce and Industry. I think I have to come to an end here. Here are some tips for you. You will, if you want this presentation, you can just send me an email afterwards and I'll send it to you. That's not a problem. So the tips are: only trust official sources, and make sure that you file an application in time, and know that every application you send to the immigration office takes time. Often it takes weeks, but some applications take even months because it just takes longer to process them. For example, freelance applications or those for self-employment or permanent residence permits. Here's a page with useful links for you: the Landesamt für Einwanderung, Berlin Partner, Because Berlin, where you can ask questions that are not related to the topic immigration. Then Anerkennung in Deutschland is a page that helps you to find out whether your qualification, which is not a university degree but a formal professional education, is recognized in Germany. And a link to the German embassies. You just type in the country and then it takes you to the relevant website there. If you want to contact me, here are my contact details. And you also see my colleague David Kremers, who basically does the same work that I do, but he's got some other talent themes in his portfolio as well. I hope that you found this interesting, and I wish you a very good day.